Last year, the Rams were upset on opening day by the Saints, and this year, New Orleans seemed to be trying even harder. But don't let these next two touchdowns fool you, because Archie Manning to number 41, Bob Newland, came when the Rams had the game salted. And Manning to number 46, Dan Abramowitz, came even later than that. In fact, there was only 1 second left in the game. But what came earlier was Ram defensive domination, like that of number 74, Merlin Olsen. And Merlin Olsen accompanied by the marauding horde. As for the offense, running back Bob Thomas, number 35, took care of business. He was ably assisted by number 45, Jim Bertelsen. But Thomas was on center stage as he rampaged for 123 yards in the first half. He set up this Roman Gabriel touchdown pass to Jack Snow, which gave the Rams a 20-0 lead. Then number 19, Jim Nettles, stole a Saints pass to set up some more Rams scoring. Larry Smith did the honors. The rest was Bob Thomas, who totaled 2 touchdowns, 144 yards rushing, and an 8-yard average per carry on 18 tries. And the Rams look good all the way around, as the 34-14 score will attest.
In the season's second week, another national television audience saw the Chiefs try to begin their season over again on a Monday night in New Orleans. Three times the Chiefs trailed, and 3 times Len Dawson brought them from behind as he completed 21 of 29 passes to a variety of receivers, including both of his tight ends, Morris Stroud, number 88, and Willie Frazier, number 83. The final touchdown went to Otis Taylor as the Chiefs tiptoed past the Saints 20-17.
In New Orleans, the winless Saints had their work cut out for them as they were going against the healed and healthy 49ers. On the opening kickoff, New Orleans had one of its few successes of the day as Margene Atkins, number 26, raced for 61 yards. But from that point on, it was all San Francisco as they stormed in and sacked Archie Manning 5 times. In addition to the sackings, the Saints lost the ball 4 times on interceptions and 3 times on fumbles. And while the 49er defense looked good, the offense was dynamite with number 22, a now healthy Vic Washington acting as the blasting cat. Vic's score was the first of the game, and the 49ers were off and running. And running is exactly what number 35 Larry Schreiber did so well and with such gusto. Of course, John Brody was feeling well, and of course that meant Gene Washington was catching touchdowns. It also meant that number 82, Ted Qualick, who's crossing your screen right now, was in line for another Brody scoring shot. The 49er defense, in the person of little Mike Simpson, number 38, finished the afternoon scoring with an interception and a 32-yard run, which made the final score San Francisco 37, New Orleans 2. For Archie Manning, it was a tough afternoon, but it may have been even tougher on those who only stand and coach. In Yankee Stadium, the surprisingly strong New York Giants battled the New Orleans Saints. The Giants have become a young team in recent years, but no team is younger than the Saints, whose roster includes 25 members with less than 3 years pro experience. The Saints are building for the future, and if it's true that a team learns from its mistakes, then New Orleans got quite a lecture on this day. The Saints fumbled 4 times and lost 4 interceptions, as mistakes led to 4 of 6 Giant touchdowns. On the Saints' first possession, a bad snap on 4th and punt gave the Giants field position on the New Orleans 13. Norman Snead, number 16, led the NFC in passing going into the game, and he began a day that would help his position by hitting Charlie Evans, number 31, swinging out of the backfield. On the Saints' second possession, an interception on their own 37 led to a field goal. And on their third series, Saint head coach J.D. Roberts saw his young team give the ball away again. A fumble gave New York possession on the Saints' 24. On the very next play, Evans went around right in, and the Giants led 17-0. In the second quarter, Saint mistakes continued unabated as a pass to Dave Parks, number 83, went through his mitts, and Richmond Flowers, number 44, came up smelling like roses. This turnover led to Evans' third score of the first half, this time on an 8-yard run. Only once did the Giants drive for a score in the first half. 35 yards of an 80-yard drive were gained on a sneak pass to Don Herman, number 85. Herman's catch and carry led to a short Ron Johnson TD run and a 31-0 Giant lead. In the second half, after still another Saint turnover, Herman got a touchdown of his own. But the turnover tournament was not over. On the Saints' first possession of the second half, an Archie Manning pass was swiped by number 41, Willie Williams. But Williams' ad-lib wound up right where the play had begun, back in Manning's glad hands. But the play had given the Saints poor field position, and after a punt, Snead threw his third touchdown pass of the day, a 15-yarder to Bob Grimm, number 27. At one point, the Giant lead had ballooned to 45-7. The Saints' 7 had come with 17 seconds left in the first half when Manning scrambled long enough to spot Parks for a 66-yard score. The Saints were never really a threat in the game, but they gained some measure of respect with 2 fourth-quarter scores. Danny Abramowitz, number 46, gained 40 yards before being helped down by teammate Joe Williams, number 24. Abramowitz's run set up a second Manning to Parks touchdown pass, and Abramowitz scored one himself on a deflection from 16 yards out. The Saints had scored last, but it was the Giants who had the last laugh with a 45-21 victory. And the Giants at 2-2 are only one game out of first in their division.
In New Orleans, 2 Southern country cousins had their backfields in action long before the Saints and the Atlanta Falcons took the field. On the first play, the character of the game was established. The Saints' Joe Williams fumbled, Greg Brazina recovered, and the Falcons were in charge deep in New Orleans territory. But 3 plays later, Art Malone, hit by Richard Neal, fumbled, and rookie Ernie Jackson controlled it at the 15. With an open field in front of him, he dashed 85 yards to a 7-0 Saints advantage. On the ensuing kickoff, Willie Germany fumbled. Ray Hester recovered on the Falcon 19, and 6 plays later, Archie Manning sneaked 3 yards to a 14-0 lead with 9 minutes remaining in the first period. But after that, the Saints offense slipped flat on its back on the sun-soaked mud sod. With 52 seconds still in the first quarter, Bob Berry completed a 48-yard drive in 8 plays, pitching 10 yards to Jim Mitchell for the Falcons' first score. But frustrated by 5 fumbles lost, the Falcons could not click again until late in the third quarter, when Wes Chesson caught one for 17 yards from Bob Berry and caught another for his trouble from a sticky rookie safety named Tom Myers. Berry capped the 80-yard drive in 8 plays, going once again to his tight end Jim Mitchell, tying the game at 14. In the final period, the Falcons slipped into the lead as Berry found Ken Burrow for a 23-yard decision maker. For the day, Berry was 16 of 26 for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns in a tougher than expected 21-14 Falcon triumph. But out of the desolation came Steve Spurrier, John Brody's 5-year backup. The big question was, could he turn this team around? The big answer came against the Saints as Spurrier hit Ted Kwolek with the second longest pass play in 49er history, 81 yards. He then hit number 17, John Eisenbarger, for another first-half score. But in the second half, Steve threw 3 unfortunate interceptions, which put the Saints on top. Only a Bruce Gossett field goal with 3 seconds to go allowed the 49ers to escape with a 20-20 tie. In New Orleans, John Reeves and Archie Manning, the futures of 2 franchises, discussed flush times in the SEC before the start of the game between the Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints' future began looking bright indeed when he hit Danny Abramowitz for the game's first score in the first quarter. Archie collapsed the throat of the Eagles' zone early, and this strike to tight end Bob Brown had the Saints threatening again. But Leroy Keys blunted this drive with an end-zone interception, and the Saints had to settle for a 7-3 halftime lead. The Eagles chose not to go with John Reeves and started number 14, Pete Lisk, instead. Number 30, Ernie Jackson's interception was only part of a world of mistakes made by the Eagles' faulty offense. And it's just as well that Philadelphia chose not to start their future today. For this kind of exposure might have traumatized any yearling quarterback. Even when two Philadelphia Eagles did manage to coordinate on a single play, a third generally found a way to confound their efforts. Meanwhile, New Orleans' future was looking better and better as Archie coupled once again with Danny Abramowitz for a 14-3 lead. When Archie streamed to number 35, Bob Gresham, the Eagles tagged him at least twice on the 54-yard run that set up his own 1-yard touchdown plunge, making the Saints superior to the Eagles by 21-3. The once powerful Vikings entered the second half of the season with only 3 victories, none of them at home. The once fearsome Viking defense had reached the passer less than once per game. But last week brought the New Orleans Saints, and for once the Vikings looked not only purple, but powerful. This fumble return by number 40, Charlie West, was disallowed, but West later had another chance to be spectacular. The NFC's top-rated defense intercepted Archie Manning 3 times. Fran Tarkenton's record was better. In 26 attempts, he completed 19 passes, some of which made quite an impression upon the field photographers. Tarkenton also threw 2 touchdown passes, one to the oldest running back in pro football, Bill Brown, a still spry 34-year-old. Tarkenton's other touchdown was more like the kind we have come to expect from frantic Francis. Tight end John Beasley got credit for this touchdown, and when the score got high enough, a new passing combination was born. Number 19, backup quarterback Bob Lee, to number 42, wide receiver John Gilliam. This 63-yard pass and run, the Vikings' longest of the year, set the stage for the same combination to finish the scoring. Minnesota prepared for first-place Detroit by polishing off last-place New Orleans 37-6.
After 2 straight losses, the Falcons were a game and a half out of first place. And one of the all-time great quarterbacks warmed up his arm before last week's game, just in case. Coach Norm Van Brocklin saw early that his arm would not be needed because in the game's first play from scrimmage, Bob Gresham fumbled and number 71, John Zook, recovered for Atlanta. Although Zook fumbled too, the Falcons retained possession and subsequently exchanged their gift for 7 big points. Later in the first period, New Orleans' second-year quarterback Archie Manning, the NFL leader in passing yardage, pump faked, reloaded, and let fly for his favorite target, Dan Abramowitz, the man who's caught more passes during the past 5 seasons than anyone else in pro football. The 40-yard catch by Abramowitz set up a happy feller field goal, which made the score a respectable 7-3 at the end of the first quarter. But Atlanta quarterback Bob Berry did not have much success in the early going. Berry found it safer to stay on the ground with his runners, Art Malone and Dave Hampton, number 43. In a slow-motion replay, we can see that the touchdown began with a simple toss to the halfback Hampton, who followed number 64 guard Andy Maurer and number 25 fullback Art Malone. With a 14-3 lead, Bob Berry opened up his passing game to Ken Burrow, number 82. After 40 yards, Burrow was brought down by Billy Hayes, a former teammate at San Diego State. Bob Berry himself scored the next touchdown, and the Falcons led at the half by 26-3. After halftime, the Falcons' first-team offense stayed in for only one more drive. In their abbreviated game, Berry hit 10 of 13 passes, and Art Malone and Dave Hampton each accounted for 100 yards of offense, running and receiving. Berry's final stroke was a touchdown pass to Ken Burrow, and the first team left after 34 minutes, leading by 30 points. The Falcons went on to defeat the Saints for the 7th straight time, 36-20. Norm Van Brocklin can breathe a little easier this week, now that he's once again only a half a game out of first place. But Monday night brings the Washington Redskins, and that's a sobering thought for any coach. In Detroit, the Lions finally had a breather when the New Orleans Saints motored into Motor City. The Lions greeted the Saints with a shot that said, "Welcome to the Black and Blue Bruise and Groan Division." Archie Manning was harassed somewhat throughout the day. And the Saints finally got the idea that someone up there in Detroit doesn't like them. That someone was Lim Barney, who belted the Saints silly, then stole an Aaron Archie pass and whistled 64 yards on the return. Then Greg Landry, who was super all day, hit number 49 Larry Walton, and the Lions were gone. Landry to number 42 Alty Taylor added 7 more to Detroit's final total of 27. Finally, a little bit of silver lining peeked through the Saints' heaven as Archie hit Dan Abramowitz on a nice play that came too late in the day. So while one number 46 got a helping hand up, the other number 46 got a handshake. But in the end, it was the Lions who shook the Saints 27-14.
Tommy Prothro, coach of the Rams, on the right. J.D. Roberts, coach of New Orleans, on the left. The game's supposed to be a breather for the Rams. They're now ahead 3-0. It's the third play of the second quarter. That's Archie Manning, the young man from Ole Miss. 5 yards on a keeper touchdown. It's no breather at all. The Saints lead 7-3. A seesaw game. Now we're in the third quarter. And the rookie from Texas, Jim Bertelsen, carrying for the Rams. In for a touchdown, and the Rams lead it at this point 13-10. Now we're late in the third quarter, and it's Archie Manning again, dropping back. A 23-yard pass to Bob Newell, and it's a touchdown for the Saints. They're ahead to 13. That's a very worried Jack Snow. Worried and surprised, I'm sure. 6 seconds left in the game. It's 16 to 16. Happy fella trying a field goal for the Saints. 33 yards. Look at his reaction. It's good. And what an upset. 19 to 16. New Orleans over Los Angeles. The Rams must beat the 49ers to stay alive next Monday night.
The New York Jets, still fighting to stay alive in the battle for a wild card playoff berth, face the improving New Orleans Saints in Shea Stadium. With Archie Manning growing in consistency week after week, the Saints threw a ball control offense at the Jets, which rolled up 22 first downs and 343 yards of total offense. New Orleans took their role as spoilers seriously as Archie completed 19 of 31 throws, many on third down to sustain 2 long touchdown drives. In the first quarter, Archie hit number 83, Dave Parks, with this 19-yarder to set up a New Orleans field goal. The Saints' first touchdown capped a 14-play drive when number 35, Bob Gresham, squirmed in after a 3-yard run. New Orleans' second drive consumed 18 plays and was consummated by an 8-yard Archie Manning to Bill Butler connection, making the score Saints 17, Jets 9 in the fourth quarter. But while the Jets' defense bent, it did not break. And this early Thomas interception set up Bobby Howfield's 5th field goal of the day, making it 17-15 with the period half gone. Meanwhile, Joe Namath was hitting 21 of 40 passes for 259 yards, but no touchdowns, as the Saints defense bottled up the Jets' attack and scotched Namath in the end zone. But in the last seconds, 1 completion and 2 interference calls brought Namath and the Jets into field goal range. With no time showing, Bobby Howfield hit his 6th three-pointer of the day, a 42-yarder, and the Jets were still alive and kicking for a playoff berth, beating the New Orleans Saints 18-17.
Archie Manning, number 8, and Jim Plunkett, number 16, have not yielded many victories for the New Orleans Saints or the New England Patriots, but their promise has burned through many disastrous moments in their longest season. And for both teams, the future remains an honest hope. Early in the game, number 8 showed why 20 out of 26 NFL teams have said they would trade their starting quarterback for Archie Manning. This play was nullified by an offside penalty, and for the Saints, the promise remained unfulfilled. Jim Plunkett also showed what he could do with a little help from his friends. And this 31-yarder to Reggie Rucker put the Patriots ahead 7-3 in the second quarter. When number 62, Hal Verhagen, forced this fumble, and number 63, Rick Cash, recovered it, the Patriots were in field position to gain another score. On the next play, Jim Plunkett cashed in on Cash's recovery, hitting Reggie Rucker again streaking to the end zone, and the Patriots were living in the future, leading 14-3. Beginning the second half, Archie drove the Saints back, finding rookie Bill Butler for a 21-yard gain. Butler's fumble was recovered by number 77, Carl Johnson, the rookie from Nebraska, and the Saints' drive was intact. Three plays later, Manning bombed 26 yards to Danny Abramowitz in stride in the end zone, completing an 80-yard drive in 10 plays. But with the score 17-10 favoring New England, the Patriot defense took root and the Saints' hopes withered. Number 29, Honor Jackson, collected this deflected pass as the New England defense held on to decide the Promises Bowl in New Orleans. Final score 17-10 New England.
Things have been shaky and frustrating for the Saints all year. This young lady only added fuel to the fires of frustration. Last week against the Packers, it was frustration even on kickoffs, as Margene Atkins, number 26, so ineptly displayed. There was frustration written all over the face of Archie Manning as he got a close-up of the Green Bay defense. And even when the Saints did right, it turned out wrong and frustrating as the Ron Whitby to Ray Nitschke combo hit for a first down. Scott Hunter, number 16, finished the job and Green Bay was on the way. Number 36, MacArthur Lane, provided ground power as he gunned his way through the New Orleans defense. Then Jerry Taggy, riding behind a dark green wave, rolled in for the score. But just as it looked like the Pack had nothing to kick about, they were forced to punt. The punt was somewhat misplaced, and the Saints' Richard Neal, number 87, turned it into a New Orleans score. On a repeat, we can see that Ron Whitby's punt hit Jim Carter, number 50, and the Saints gobbled up the score. The unusual tally put some life into the Saints offense, and Archie hit Bill Butler, number 38, for a touchdown. Manning then whistled one to Margene Atkins, who made a good catch despite some hangers-on. Then it was Manning to Dave Parks, number 83, but the Saints' comeback was too little too late. And they ended their season of frustration with a 30-20 loss to the team that's back where the Saints have never been.